Hello, and welcome to Greet the Week. I'm Mona Duncan, and today's topic is on work integrity. So I'm going to pull up the slideshow and we'll begin to talk about this. When I worked for 20 years, well, 22 actually, 2 years it was as volunteer work, and then they hired me. And anyway, in working there, working with prisoners, it was a facility for pre-release, helping them to be able to reconnect with their families and get back into life as such. And anyway, uh, I did a lot of staff training also, and one of them was on work integrity. So I wanted to just share a little bit of that today. Uh, and being a wordsmith, I like to break words down so we can get a fuller view of them. And so, what does work mean? Well, it can mean to labor, to put forth an effort, to exert yourself, to be above the, over and above the normal. It is maybe putting a little sweat into it. It's actually working up some energy from inside. It can be looked at as a job. It can be looked at as an action that we take. And hopefully, the work that we do, the work that we're involved in, will bring about some kind of an achievement. And so, therefore, it could be something that we've molded or something that we make. And then also, not only to do a good job of working, but to work with integrity. And that just a few of the words that go along with it from thinking, and that is integrity is to be honest and upright and moral and respectful, and to have a soundness to it, so that no matter what it is, it's got some kind of a definition there. So, a couple of wisdom thoughts here before we get started. Voltaire said, "Work banishes these three great evils." If we're, busy working, then we have banished boredom, vice, and poverty. And then I have one here from Alexander Chase. I'm not familiar with who he is, but I ran across this statement a while back and I liked it. And he said, "He who considers his work beneath him will be above doing it well." You know, uh, because we're going to be looking at how the fact that what kind of work we perform really does identify who we are. And then a statistic from Cornell University is that in order to get a job and keep a job requires 15% mechanical skills or knowledge of what the work entails. But to get a job, to keep a job, and equally important to move ahead in that job and to be fully satisfied in that job requires 85% people skills. So today, I wanted us to just look for a few minutes at some of the views of work. And this is directly from, with much less explanation, but it's directly from some training that I did at the Fresh Start Center. But anyway, work can be seen as an ugly four-letter word, as either evil or vile or foul or, something that you wouldn't want to do. But when we have that kind of an attitude toward the work that we do, then we become lazy. Then we have a tendency to not like what's going on in the business or what is the requirements that we're to do, or to like our bosses or our coworkers. And then also, because of not liking the scheduling or whatever, we begin to live for the weekend, or that, thank God it's Friday. Well, that's one of my goals behind Greet the Week, is to thank God it's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, no matter what day it is, Saturday, Sunday, to realize that every day has merits all of its own. And then also sometimes we begin to see work as our identity. Now, I'm not making a judgment call on these. It's just that as we see it as our identity, often we become a workaholic, and that we can't or don't know how to let other people see our true personality or how we are if it's not involved in work. And then also, whenever we see work as our identity, we become so focused on it that we allow other areas of our life to suffer, such as family and friends and health. And then also, looking at work, a viewpoint of work is that it is a gift. And whatever that work is, whether it is working at home, working with the family, whether it is doing volunteer work, or whether it is work for pay, it is a gift. It is a gift. It's something that we can't ever receive. We can't ever give what we don't receive. And so as we learn things, no matter how it is, we are receiving a gift of work. So let's look at some benefits of work. Well, work is worthwhile. When we look at work in its proper place, it becomes an expression of who we are because each one of us have unique talents and abilities. And as we use those, then we become meaningful. The work, whatever we do, becomes meaningful not only to ourselves, but to others, as in whether it's the teacher or the student. You know, the teacher becomes worthwhile not only to what she is learning or he is learning, but also in teaching the student and what they can learn. Or the healer is the one that not only needs healing for themselves, but needs to give the healing to others also. And that healing and that learning and that manifestation can come physically as well as mentally. And it's to realize that work is worthwhile and it is so much more than income. It's so much more. That work is needs fulfilling of our basic needs. And looking at Dr. Glasser's 5 basic needs that we have, because we sow seeds even when we're working, and those seeds reap profits if we sow the right seeds. And so it needs fulfilling, that it contributes to our survival. It contributes to our getting along with people, the love and belonging. It contributes to our power need to do something and to accomplish it and to feel good about it. It helps to fulfill our freedom need and also to have some fun. And then realizing that work develops our character, that rarely ever do we go into anything just knowing it all. If we do, then we're going back up there to that work as our identity. And but anyway, it begins to develop our character, and we see things about life and people and mechanics and just everything in a different way. And then work is also a witness as to who we are because it lets other people know who we are. And so I have here some reflections on the job perspective. And there's 7 questions, I think, that I had here. And what I did was I printed it out and handed it out to everyone there. And I asked them within the next week or 2 weeks, next 2 weeks, to fill out their answer to these reflection questions and to turn it into one of the advisors. And so they did that. There was 32 people in the facility that was workers, and I think there were like 21 that turned them in. So the majority turned them in. So I wanted to share with you not only the questions, but my answers in particular. So prior to looking at these perspectives of work, which mindset did you or do you lean toward work? Do you see it as work as evil, work as identity, or work as a gift? And why do you see that? So here was my answer. And I sent it in to the powers that be also. Fresh out of high school, my first job was with Texas Life Insurance Company, and I loved it. I even looked forward to Monday mornings. After hanging out with coworkers and hearing them complain at lunch and breaks, my attitude toward work began to change. In reading Proverbs, I ran across the scripture that said, whatever your hand finds to do, do it with all of your might. And in being a wordsmith, in looking up what it actually means, when I put what is your might, what it might actually equate, it was looking at do it all with the energy, the dynamite power energy of divinity, of God, the conviction. And that it just, it's something that settled in and it changed my attitude, changed my heart. So work is a joy that continues to this day. And no matter what I do, whether that again is home, volunteering, or actually working for pay, there's just a joy there because I do see it as a gift. So, question number 2 that I asked for reflection and reflected on myself is what is your belief system? What in your belief system may need to change in how you see work? And so my answer was, I'm not sure. I will think about it. And I did continue to think about it again and again and again. And I continue to think about it today as to what do I need to bring that's going to make uh, everything a little bit better. Question number 3, do you love your job? And if not, are you willing to love your job? Well, my answer on both of those was yes. And then question number 4 in reflection is what would be your ideal job? And if it's not this one, and you're still working here and you're not ready to go somewhere else, how could you make this job your ideal job? Well, I answered yes to both of the threes. But my answer to question number 4 was my ideal job entails 4 main things. The ability to set my own schedule. Oh, I had another one there. Well, anyway, to have an insane income. I wanted, to be paid a bunch, to have unlimited travel, to have state-of-the-art equipment, and the opportunity to make a difference in people's lives. But as I looked at that, I really began to realize that the only 2 ideal, I had 2 out of 3 of the 4 or the 5. And that was the ability to set my own schedule, which thankfully I did. As I told you, for that particular job, that turned into be 20 years, I worked 2 years as a volunteer. And as a volunteer, I set my own schedule. And then whenever they wanted to hire me, I said, as long as I can continue to set my own schedule. I mean, it's a 24-hour facility, and I don't mind putting in the hours, but they may, it may not be an 8 to 5 or anything like that. And then also the ability to help make a difference in other people's lives. And then what are your immediate goals for working with integrity? My immediate goals, and they continue still to this day in whatever I do, is to continue to listen and to heed what my conscience is telling me. What is my wisdom heart? Not the ego, but the wisdom heart. What is it telling me? To change out the nearly empty, my answer to immediate goal of working with integrity was to change out the nearly empty rolls of toilet paper rather than leaving it for the next person. Now, that may sound rather strange. The thing of it is that not having sufficient products in the restrooms was a big deal at the Sanction Center. In that there was all kinds of remarks posted and stated. And I thought, you know what? As I go down, I'm going to knock on the door and see if anyone's in there. And if not, I'm going to go in and look around whether it's men or women. And I'm going to see that there's enough equipment there to work until I leave at the end of the day. Because sometimes it is meeting those little bitty needs and requirements. Whether it is having the coffee ready. It's just realizing that everyone is important and doing those little non-important things that doesn't seem important that turns out to be really most important. And then question number 6 is, what is your immediate goal for getting along with a difficult boss or coworker? And again, my formula for getting along with boss or coworkers and residents, which was actually the clients, is realizing that some will participate, listen, heed, and obey, some won't. And instead of taking it personally, it's doing the best that I can. Because I always told them right up front, is my goal in this is to mess with your mind. It's not to tell you how to think, it's to help you learn to think in more than just one way or in scattered ways. And then looking at next. So the next person may be more amenable. I may be more relatable to the next person. And then question number 7 was to rate the value that this training meant to you. And with from 1 to 10, with 10 being the highest. And I rated the training that I learned myself, not only in presenting it, but also in receiving from others, was number 8. And there were other things that I had to kind of go along hand in hand with this, which was some of the reactions or the responses that other people had given. And I had it out ready to go on a PowerPoint, but we had a power outage and I had not saved it. And so I do not have it. But anyway, it turned out to be, because the bosses to whom the request to the reflection answers were given was kind enough to give them to me. And anyway, I had looked at them, of course, and that I found them across the board for all 7 questions to be somewhat favorable to the teaching, to be somewhat against the teaching, and to be very unique. And that just kind of goes hand in hand with humanity at large, that we are all who we are, and we have a tendency to speak that out, whether we're doing it intentionally or not. Anyway, I encourage everything that you do, whether it is volunteer, for pay, for family, for whomever, to do it with deep integrity. So thanks for being here, and I'll close out in many blessings.